Hi, True Crew. How you doing? Welcome back to another episode. This is the first time you've seen one of my videos. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to follow my social media, Facebook, Twitter, Google+. The podcast is out there. My website as well, where you can pick up 2 free downloads on setting goals and fitness and nutrition. Alright, so coming at you today with a really quick video, well, hopefully quick, on domesticated man versus wild man. Right? This is a big concept thrown around out there. And to tell you the truth, if it wasn't for me listening to a podcast by Daniel Vitalis called Rewild Yourself, and me coming from my Christian Catholic background, my now fiance got me a book by G.K. Chesterton. She got me 3 books for my birthday. One by G.K. Chesterton called Orthodoxy. And if it wasn't for listening to that Rewild Yourself podcast, I probably never would have made this video. I've wanted to make a video on this for a while, and there's like one paragraph, half a paragraph in that book Orthodoxy where he kind of brings up this idea of domesticated man versus wild man, because he kind of talks about in that book and another book that I've read about how man is not really an animal, right? The more we compare man to animal, the more we realize he is nothing like an animal. That was one of the concepts in that book. And like I say, if you're not a Christian, you definitely should check out this video and always listen to Christian content. Because even with that Rewild Yourself podcast, when he has some of his guests on, they'll say something, they'll bring up some topic and he'll say something along the lines of, oh yeah, that's one of the evils Christianity's brought into the world, or that's one of the bad things of Christianity, or something along those lines. And I don't let those things bother me. You know, I want to hear a different point of view because I want to grow. Although I do believe Catholic teaching is the one true teaching, right? But anyway, so he brought up, right, so the whole concept of that Daniel Vitalis podcast, Rewild Yourself, is we need to get back to nature, to wild man, right? Because when we ourselves look out into nature, they are wild animals, right? And when we take them out of the wild and we bring them into our world, into society, into zoos, these are now domesticated men or animals. These are now, a dog is a domesticated wolf, you know, things along those lines. And so it made me think, and he brought up, I can't remember the exact sentence that G.K. Chesterton used, but it brought me along those lines of, what do we consider domestication? And then I started to think about, like, where have I heard the word domesticated used before, besides in the sense of him saying we are domesticated man. And the only thing I could think of after reading that Chesterton paragraph in that book Orthodoxy, which once again, if you are a Christian, I seriously think you should read that book. If you are a spiritual but not religious man, definitely read that book Orthodoxy by G.K. Chesterton. And what I thought about was domestic beer. That's what I thought about. So what is domestic beer, right? Well, if you live in the States, United States, it would be Bud Light, Budweiser, Coors Light, you know, any of those not micro brews, but brews that are like the origins and like the oldest form of so-called beer in the United States. That's what I thought about, at least. So then the way Chesterton brought it up was a domesticated man, right, would be using that term as well of a domestic beer. A domesticated man would be a man of the so-called wild, right? Because that is his original form. That is his origin. Just like a domestic beer is Coors Light, Bud Light, anything like that, Milwaukee, any of those beers. That's its original state. So right now, this society we have created is a true wild man. This is us saying no to that original way of life and creating something else. And in that sense, we are the true only wild animal. And this is what Chesterton brought up. We are the true only wild animal because we stepped out of that domesticated state of nature and living in that natural state. And we rebelled. I don't think he used that word because that would I'm probably misquoting that in a Catholic teaching way, but we rebelled against that natural way and we became wild men, right? What do we consider a wild man in society? Someone that goes against the grain, right? A wild man is someone that says, I'm not going to follow that. I'm going to step outside the box and do something different. So in reality, what we've created right now is a true wild man. We right now are at our true wildest form, because our true wildest form would be ultimate creativity, ultimate production, ultimate, just creativity and production of creating things, innovation. That is when man is in his wildest form. Now, don't get me wrong. We have that original sin within man, so we can domesticate ourselves within the society, right? It's always going to go wrong in some way, shape, or form, because unfortunately with the original sin within ourselves, we revert to that selfishness and that I am God mentality, right? Which in a case creates domesticity. I don't even know if that's a word, but something along those lines. That domesticates us, that traps man. So we have been domesticated within this wild society that we have created. But in reality, where we are right now, man is in his wildest form, right? So stepping back, we would be once again domesticated to the territory or to that animalistic version of man. And we are not animals. We are much more than animals. We have purpose in this life, right? In reality, when you look out there and you see the cheetahs and you see, everything does have its rhyme and reason, but in reality, it almost seems that to that sense, there is no rhyme or reason. There's a rhyme or reason to that cycle of life of, of death and rebirth and those types of things. But in reality, does that cheetah or that cow or that horse really have a purpose? I know they can say, right, like the horse hooves and walking can be kind of that that animal version of aeration of the ground, right? I do landscaping, so aeration, when you punch the holes into your ground, right? And of course, without bees, we need that pollination of plants so things can grow. Same with the water and the air and all these things. I understand that cycle, but once again, we've got to understand that we as man have that different purpose. And we can even go into like the human soul. I have a video on that as well where we talk about the human soul. There's 3 types of souls, right? And this is coming from St. Thomas Aquinas again. And man has that full soul versus plant. We have that nutritive soul, which would be plants, right? The nutrients and things like that. We have the animals, which have the sensitive soul and the nutritive soul, because they have the nutrients and they have that sense of touch and feel, right? But then man has that, I always mess up what it is, that intellectual soul, where we have the 3, right? So we have the nutritive, the sensitive, and the intellectual. And I don't think it's intellectual. I always mess that up. I'll go with intellectual soul, but I don't know if that's it. But we have the 3 souls. So we have that complete soul versus the plants and animals only have portions. So once again, I think, would that mean that true bringing those, allowing, I don't know if you want to say it allowing, but giving those wolves the opportunity to step into this lifestyle, that is that true sense of wilding or freeing those animals, right? You're no longer on that survival of the fittest, living day to day. We have, in a sense, given ourselves that opportunity to live longer, to have a greater impact on the world, hopefully for a better reason and not going into that negative reason. So with the real, true, wildest animal, since we as men are not animals, the true wildest animal be the animals that we so-called domesticated, because their own natural environment would be domestication, because that is their natural environment. So we bring them into here. Now they don't have to worry about food. They don't have to worry about these other forms of things, right? This could possibly, us stepping out of that domestic form of life, of planet domestication, right? The planet domesticated us, and we stepped out and wild ourselves. So now being able to bring these animals and these other things, these other creatures into this wild environment that we created, this might now be able, I'm going way overboard here. Could this be a time of where we can truly witness evolution, right? Because we try to say we came from animals. But in reality, if you don't have that sense of, I don't have to worry where my next meal comes from. I don't have to worry about running from this creature. When we are able to bring their minds into something of that nature, right? Will we be able to see a gorilla or an ape talk eventually, right? Because now they don't have to worry about these other dangers in life. You know, same thing, like if you were to go out there, like they say, you would never see a ape or a gorilla carve another picture of a gorilla or an ape. But now that we have taken them out of that domesticated state and we have freed them to where they don't have to worry about those things, can their mind start to evolve and develop in the same way that a human mind would? And I'm way off topic on that one, but like I said, just going into, I think right now what we are seeing, the civilization that we have created, is the true free and wild man, able to do anything that you put your mind to, as long as you allow yourself to be free, right? We have freed ourselves, but in society there are those higher ups. I do love conspiracy theories myself, but there are those higher ups that want to enslave us in these certain ways with these false sense of freedoms that we have. And I've discussed that before in my other videos of how you are truly not free. We are truly not free right now. They want to say we've been enslaved in this society of money and material possessions, but I don't believe that either. We've only been enslaved because we have been lied to that this is what this society is about. I would say the true wild man then would be the man who can go from this to that domesticated state, if that's what we want to call it, of living as an animal to living as man, as needed, as wanted. We can go from there to there. We understand the importance of a society and the importance of the earthly domestication, right? Because once again, we as Christians, we as Catholics believe that the body and the soul together is the first marriage. That's why we also believe in the resurrection of the body. What God binds together, let no man separate, right? So we believe in that is the first marriage, the marriage of matter and spirit. And now I totally got off subject there. I don't know where I was going with that. So from there, we're on this planet, but once again, we are not animals, right? We have that spirituality. We are in that godlike image as well. And now we have come to, with our body that is kind of putting us in that domesticated sense of that connection with the earth. But once again, our spiritual side allows us to free ourselves from that. And this is a whole, but I don't know if this was going where I wanted it to go. I was thinking about this, over the weekend I had a family reunion for my fiance. I did my first triathlon. So I did a bunch of things. Just kind of sat in there, and this morning I was like, I'm making the video. I hope it makes sense in some way, shape, or form. I explained it a couple of different ways to other people and to my mother and my fiance, and I hope it resonates. Definitely there at the beginning, right? So, that was a lot. I hope it gave you some food for thought. Maybe you can debunk everything that was just said in the comment box. If so, that's fine. Let's create conversation. Let's see what we can get out of this. Domesticated man versus wild man. True freedom. Bouncing from side to side. Bouncing from this wild environment we've created to the natural side, right? Of those wild animals that we call them. So maybe I'm totally off. Maybe it's partially true. You can add something great to this conversation, I hope. Don't forget, you're here for a kind of spiritual talk, but there is health, fitness, a lot of other things on this video. I am a personal trainer, so there's a lot of workouts and things like that. Workouts with my clients and things like that. So once again, I hope this helps. Don't forget to follow my social media, Facebook, Twitter, Google+. The podcast is out there. Subscribe to this channel. Share and like these videos.